And I've had some people, I did a poll recently where I asked if I was to stream stuff besides me playing video games, what kind of stuff y'all would like to see me stream. And several people, a few people commented that they wanted to see me streaming my like GM prep and stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And you'll have to forgive me for like a couple of quick seconds because I just want to make sure that I'm like sharing this stream with strangers on the internet. So give me just a second while I post some links up and get that all put up. Also, there's like some neighbor of mine who likes to just sit in his truck and honk his horn for who knows how long. But anyway, if y'all have any questions and stuff like that too, please don't hesitate to ask. You know, let me know if there's like, I guess just anything that y'all want to know or are wondering about. Let me lower my screen a little bit there too. And raise my camera. Okay, cool. Nope, other way. That's my partner eating snacks behind me. Everyone say hi to Jess. Okay, let's see. I have the, how do I change the category of my stream on Twitch? Because it says that I'm doing a Baldur's Gate stream. I'm not doing a Baldur's Gate stream. Let's see, edit stream info. There we go. That is not what this is. Do we have Dungeons and Dragons? Hey, there we go. Actually, do we have Daggerheart? Hey, there we go. Done. Cool. Okay. And go to my channel. There we are. Boom. And go to my current stream. View my channel. Boom. Let's see, edit stream info. All right. And let's post that on my FAQ. Nope, start here. Boom, announcements. Oh, there we go. And what's the day at? Nope. Let's see. Oh, post and boom, posted. And oops, I forgot to post this on YouTube. I'm Philly. Go into my channel. Then I create a post. Boom. All right. The masses are aware. Oh, good afternoon, Tanner. Okay, cool. So, first things first. Are my headphones connected? They're not even on. There we go. And if you hear clicking, clacking, and grunting, my partner is like very intense about Overwatch in like a cool way. They're like pretty highly ranked. And so they get into it. So if you hear like, it's not combat training. That's the noise of victory. Or I should say, those are the noises of victory. Okay, and my speakers, great. All right, so when I start my prep for any game, we're officially starting, by the way. We're just going straight into it. When I start prep for anything, the first thing I do is look at my notes. So I look to refresh myself like, hey, what the hell did I write down the last time I was GMing? A really important thing is how much fear did I have, which if I look at this now, I had 1 fear to start off with. And I also want to make sure that any supplements or important prep and stuff that I have or would need for my session, gonna have to put some conditioner in. I forgot the leave-in conditioner again, damn it. Okay, whatever, we're putting our hair in a ponytail. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I check out any supplements that I'm supposed to be using. This is gonna be a Colossus of the Drylands campaign. So there's a lot of like southwestern elements. There's also gonna be a lot of like giant kaiju. And this is the internet, so just Control-C, Control-V. Like if you don't know what a kaiju is, it's just like a giant monster. But Google is your friend. Turn this down a little bit. Too much. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for any session, right, and something that I've learned when it comes to like efficiency with prep is I used to burn myself out by just putting a ton of time into your prep is not the same as like just doing good prep. Like it can lead to good prep, but it's not efficient and it doesn't always pay off. And I know that some people will be like, well, it doesn't matter if it pays off, it's fun, or it doesn't matter if it pays off, like it's something you can use for later, sure. But the reality is we're all humans and we only have a certain amount of fuel. And if we burn all that fuel because we're having fun, it doesn't matter if we burnt it having fun, we burnt it. And that's how you burn out. And I would know because I run a bunch of different campaigns. So, even my friend Dottie from Mystic Arts just dropped a video called like, oops, I burnt myself out or something like that. But the point is you can burn yourself out. So be careful about that. Let's see, why am I so blue? There we go. Adjustments. Let's not do auto white balance, and I'm gonna be a little redder. Oh, wait, that's why. Okay. Oh. Okay. Kill. Oh, it's also just like the sun setting outside, so that's gonna be part of it. Anyway, so yeah, don't burn yourself out. It's important to check and make sure, like, hey, am I doing so much that I'm sucking the fun out of it, or I'm gonna, you know, die? But yeah, so I like to look at past notes. I like to look at what I've done before, and kind of like a one-shot, and structuring a good one-shot. Any good session, especially like the 3-hour sessions that I tend to run, I like to try to figure out, besides what happened last time, like 3 main scenes or chapters or acts of my session. The reason being, you almost like 50-50 that you get to the 3rd one, right? But especially if you've ever played a TTRPG before, you know that there's like a few things that are definitely going to happen. If combat's going to happen, you know that's going to take like a long time. So you don't need to have like every beat and every possibility that could happen. It's like, oh no, what if I improv something and it's like mediocre? Well, I mean, you're human, right? And also, I'm going to be honest, I've read a lot of adventures and a lot of them are mediocre anyway. So that's, you're probably going to just come up with something that's about as good as that anywho. The worst thing you can do when it comes to improv is nothing. And I think that that's where a lot of people get tripped up on as well, is people, if they don't have something, they're like, that can't happen. No, it's not possible. And it's not because it makes sense that it's not possible. It's just that they don't, like they're stuck or something. And it's ironic because you can pull anything out of your ass and it's going to be infinitely more entertaining than nothing. Also, pulling stuff out of your ass based on what's happening in the scene or the things your players have done tends to make it more interesting to them, because now what you're doing is a direct result of choices that they've made or ways that their character is. So, in the last session, my players stopped a group of bandits who were trying to move some like a shipment of this kind of magical crystal called Essentia back and forth. And Essentia is kind of like a battery. It's this magical crystal that's infused with energy, like magical energy, and it's used to power things in the same way like coal would otherwise power trains and stuff like that. Although I guess coal is still a thing here, but it's like magical power, not just like engine power. And if I look at my notes, let's see. Ah, man. God, I love my players. I have a player who just wrote these fantastic notes, and this stuff helps your GM just as much as it helps y'all. Let's see. The party chased down the Frito Banditos, who were stealing a hoard of Essentia. Nice, okay. Yeeted Silky, right, so somebody threw another person. Jelly's Thorny, okay, right. Someone squirted blood out of their eye because they were that kind of lizard. Okay, this is all very, like, beat to beat. So let's move forward. Okay, they returned back to the saloon, the Rusty Spur, and went to town making up everyone's favorite drinks. Right, well, that's the other thing, too, by the way. You should give your players moments to explore their character. I think that something I've seen doing this as long as I have, with as many different groups as I have, is no matter how much time somebody's put into their backstory, it means fuck all when you start playing. Very few decisions that the characters make in play actually come from the backstory. And they are spending a lot of time figuring out who their character is, even as they play them, whether they've written a backstory or not. So it's just, I mean, let them write their backstory. It doesn't really matter. If you see certain problems come up, it's the kind of stuff that comes with experience. I can't really tell you what those problems are, because you might easily say, well, that didn't happen to me, or that's not going to happen to me, and it might not, you know? But if it does, it does. But I like to give my players, especially in the beginning, very surface level questions. What's their favorite color? Or, you know, what are you doing with your hands during some downtime? Or if you're at a tavern or something, like, what kind of drink do you order? Because all of these let you, both as the GM and the players, explore who their character is. So that's why I did that. And then there was some fun role play. Let's see. Dust off the sign of the right. Oh my God, right. They named, okay. They named the tavern. They named the tavern the Rusty Spur. But as we screwed around and talked about the name, somebody mentioned that the R looks like a, actually it used to be a B, but part of the letter broke off. And it was actually called the Busty Spur. And then it might have been me, if I'm being honest. The second part, I mean, not the first part. The first part was the players. The second part, I said, like, yeah, and there used to be a T after the R, so it used to be called the Busty Spurt. And it turned into a brothel, which is funny because all of the players, when everyone kind of realized, like, yeah, I think this is just a brothel, all of the players were like, yeah, well, actually, that's kind of what I was thinking it would be. And so it was this weird moment where we all had this ridiculous idea that nobody was going to share. I wasn't going to, as the GM, tell my players, like, your saloon's a brothel or something like that. But as it kind of revealed itself to be that way. I think it was funny that we all sort of seemed to be on that wavelength about it. And again, this was all improv. None of this, and that was probably the most fun they had in the session. I think somebody was laughing so hard they started to cry a little bit. And all of this was all in the moment. This was none of this. Yes, the busty spurt. None of this was like stuff that I had pre-planned or anyone had pre-planned really. Maybe the rusty spur, but like where it went from there and all the fun we had, that was all in the moment. And people seem to think that improvising has to be this incredible Brennan Lee Mulligan level improv stuff, but this is the aspect of collaborative storytelling that everyone's talking about when we say collaborative storytelling. Let your players say something and let that actually matter, not just like, cool, but no, that's not what I wrote down here. You know what I mean? Also, hi, Etten Entertainment. I don't know if this is kayfabe or Gallus, but either one of y'all, I like you both, so welcome to the channel. Let's see. So we got Jelly. Oh, Jeff, by the way, who's very active in the Heart of Daggers community, and Dorathis, who is there on and off, are both in this campaign. But let's see. So Xenia realized she wasn't a normal lady working for the brothel, tried to cut them off. Right. They were being spied on. They questioned her. They failed to interrogate. Right. I let them make rolls. Rolls that they requested they make. Those rolls did not go well. Those rolls went pretty bad, actually. But, let's see. She admitted that she was hired by Elias Plim the 14th, who sadly nobody recognized the name of. They tried. As they all discussed this, the music started to fade as the ground began to shake, and they all looked confused, and the words "to be continued" appeared on screen, because we're telling this story like it's some kind of TV show or movie. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wait. Nope. Nope. Okay. I swear to God, if that ends up being the thumbnail later, I'll be so pissed. Okay. So, let's see. Rusty Spurt. Or Busty Spurt, sorry. Right. Elias Plim. So, I'm going to show you all how it is that I set stuff up on my screen. Let's see if I can do this here. Window cat here. Let me minimize Discord, maximize PureRef, and then let me add it as a feed so you guys can know what I'm talking about. PureRef, okay. And there it is. Yeehaw session. No capture. Right, capture cursor. Okay, perfect. So, it's completely black, and I don't know why. Okay, well, that's a shame. Maybe instead of window capture, I can do display capture. Yeah, display capture. Left monitor. Display, and I think it's that one. Perfect. There we go. Okay. So, with this one, PureRef is an app that I really like to use. There we go. And let me actually make it like part of the monitor there. Okay, good enough. Put that down there, and all right, so PureRef is this really fantastic app that lets me basically make a collage out of all these little screenshots that I take. So when you look at my monitor, it's going to be a bunch of like stat blocks and things like that. Various weapons tables so that I can reference them and help my players while I'm running the game. Because there's not as many things that you need to know as a GM when you're running Daggerheart, but it's good to have them on hand. And rather than having to like flip through the book or Control F to find it in the PDF, there it is. It's a lot easier. Let's see. Listening to how you prepare while I set up for my game in half an hour. Might be too late for this one. Hey, no. It can help. It can help. So PureRef, it's a free app, by the way. It's a fantastic app, and that's what you got here. Let's see. I have the mounted rules for Daggerheart, for Pistolheart. And then I have, let's see, some environment stat blocks and events. But this is who they're going to be dealing with, because I'm going to be introducing my players to Pistolheart's investigations, rumors and investigations mechanic. So besides putting this stuff up, I also am going to have a bunch of PDFs up that my players can't see, but let's see. I'm not going to show them to you because you can buy Pistolheart yourself. By the way, thank you, Carlos Cisco, for sharing Pistolheart with me. They are them and Mike Underwood. I can't say one without mentioning the other, but Carlos Cisco designed Pistolheart. Fantastic supplement. Originally it was birthed as an extension to Colossus of the Drylands, but you could run it just as is. But let's see here. So, Pistolheart Volume 2 specifically has a investigations and rumors mechanic. So I'm a big fan of when you're new to something, or you're learning something, or teaching someone something for the first time, like doing the most basic thing. I know that like a lot of new GMs sorry, I just read an entertainment's message. But I know a lot of people, especially when they're new GMs or new players or whatever, right? They want to go crazy with the customization. And you can go crazy with the customization. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying learn something vanilla first before you start getting into like a super complex version of it. Make that a little smaller. Okay. But yeah, this is the Flim Flam Mogul, and I'm really excited to have them in the adventure today. Okay. So the way investigations and rumors work is actually, there's a few ways that they can do it, and this is, again, a lot of what I'm going to do. I have to preface this by saying this is like all table specific, and what works for my table might not work for yours. And there's a few different ways that investigations and rumors can work. Excuse me. But the gist is, there is going to be a certain kind of adversary called an enigma. And enigmas are actually, they're unique to Pistolheart. But the gist is, have you ever seen a TV show where, like, no matter how hard the main characters try, they, like, can't seem to get the bad guy, like, they can't seem to nab him? So the idea is, with an enigma, I decided to put my hair down. The thing is, with an enigma, that's their shtick, right? So if the players try to come at an enigma before they've solved enough investigations surrounding the enigma, then the enigma will slip through their grasp and get away. So with this guy, the Flim Flam Mogul, says a greedy, exploitative business mogul from a far-off land who ruins the local economy for personal gain. Which, if you guys have seen any Western, there's always some Yankee who shows up and starts saying things like how I'm going to turn this piece of dirt into an industry. I don't know, whatever. They don't care because they're not from there, right? And if they can make a coin off of it, great. But anywho, so investigations and rumors, that's actually kind of the big thing that we're going to be doing in our session today. So I'm not above simply having to read through the book all over again. I'm even going to read this out loud. So let's see here. I might open this twice so that I have both the mechanics themselves open and this sample investigation specifically. Let's see. Investigations and rumors. Okay. Oh, and it's not like I haven't run this before. It's just anytime something is more than a couple of pages long, I always go back and there's no shame in just reviewing mechanics to make sure you actually know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, so basically, investigations are how you track the progress of the party looking into rumors. So to complete an investigation, the party must collect a certain number of clue tokens, each which represents a piece of solid evidence, such as a witness's testimony. So in other words, it's kind of like saying you hear about something, and if you look into it, and depending on how things go, you get a token. You get a point or something. If you have enough points, then it sort of undoes this magical or narrative protection plot armor that the Enigma has. So in this case, they will hear rumors, and there's a bunch of different ways they can find rumors. They can ask people rumors. They can search around and stuff, and then they have to, as a group, right, either amongst themselves or with the GM, and I can feed them rumors too if I want to. There's all kinds of ways you can. I mean, you're the god of your world, so if you're GMing, you can just spit some rumors out, have them hear something in the corner of the bar, right? That's how these things normally go anyway. But yeah, you decide what the purpose of the investigation is, right? You also have to, if you are the GM, and most of the time it's going to be to look into like this adversary here. But purpose of the investigation, appropriate number of rumors, the investigation's difficulty, and the number of clue tokens required to successfully complete the investigation. So, fortunately for us, and if you're using an adversary from Pistolheart, all of this is actually in the stat block. Again, you can make all of this up yourself, and eventually I will, because I'm just that kind of gal. But until I do that, I'm gonna just rip stuff from the book. Also, my players have never encountered this person before. They don't know anything about them, so it's not like this sort of taking what the book gives me detracts from the experience of my players. And again, everything you do, it has to circle back to like, are your players going to have a good time, right? You're a game master. Emphasis on game, not master, right? You make final calls and stuff like that, but all the calls you have to make have to come from this place of like, this is going to sound so lame, this place of love for your players, right? Everything I do, whether it's going to make the situation harder or whatever, or, you know, something bad's going to happen, it's because I think my players are going to enjoy this. So planning on using investigations in my upcoming, oh, how fortuitous, oh yeah, great. I love the idea of creating rumors from player notes, those loose ends they want to explore. Yes, yes. And that's the thing too, is I have definitely also had players who, if I kind of put some sort of hints in front of them, right, they take the initiative and start like looking into it themselves, or they start connecting dots. And sometimes too, that can lead to some really cool investigations. Now, if you are reading the investigation section of the book, it's important to note that they actually have examples of play. And these can be hugely helpful if you're me, for example, because this is all conceptual and abstract, and I struggled with that. But yes, so the rumor is an unverified assertion that the PCs can verify to progress an investigation. Some investigations start with rumors already in play, right? So maybe the first thing you hear about this guy is a rumor that you have to look into. Or you hear about this person, and then you go, man, we got to take them down. Let's start seeing what kind of dirt we can uncover on them. But let's see, in these cases, the GM should come up with a few bits of gossip, hearsay, and slander related to the investigation. Right, and this is hints. This is hints that we drop in the world. And also, this is the kind of thing that if you've read Sly Flourishes or Mike Elshay's Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, or Game Master. I think it's Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, but they have Rise of the Game Master coming out because now people are playing games other than Dungeons and Dragons, so they're game masters, not dungeon masters. But yeah, it talks about dropping hints and clues and stuff, because what drives the players forward is the players' decisions and how they act on those things, not telling the players what happens to them, unless they ask, because they rolled. So, example, if the investigation is about the Flim Flam Mogul poisoning the water supply, a rumor relating to the investigation could be Gallopy Joe. I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to be Jalopy. Gallopy Joe, probably Gallopy because of the horses. Gallopy Joe fell ill after drinking foul-smelling water from the well. right? And you can write it like that, or, I mean, hell, you could write, you know, the mogul is, you know, dirtying the water supply, whatever it is. And by the way, there is actually wanted posters in this supplement. I'm actually gonna take a screenshot of this, because that's fantastic, and I want that for my notes over here. And I'm going to put it into PureRef next to my stat block. So let's see. FYI, I have folders within folders within folders, and I have folders for every campaign that I use. Let's see. So, Flim, Flam, Mogul, wanted poster. Don't worry, I know you can't see it yet, but once I put it into PureRef, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. Yeehaw, adversaries. I've named this campaign Yeehaw for obvious reasons. Okay. So, y'all should be able to see it. Isn't that cool as hell, by the way? That Carlos Cisco got, like, wanted posters made for this thing. Oh, man. That looks so good. That looks so good. Okay. So, suspected of poisoning the local water supply with his mine's runoff. Tier 1 investigation, difficulty and stuff. Now, I mentioned that you need to set a difficulty for your investigations. And fortunately, these stat blocks already have the difficulty listed. Let's see. I cannot even tell you how often I have altered my plans because the speculations of the players were better than anything I devised. That is just, again, you can tell new GMs that Gaurelin, you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your name. You can tell new GMs that they will not believe you. Their anxiety will completely override any amount of experiential advice you give them, and they're going to be like, no, I have to plan all this stuff. It doesn't matter. And they don't realize that, like, the best stuff comes from their own players. But anyway, so this is Daggerheart. Yes, I agree. At entertainment, I go with game moderator personally. I don't care for the term master in this usage. Valid. Let's see. Nested folders are the way to go. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So there is going to be this dude. There's going to be something you're looking into. In this case, the water supply. There's rumors about it. Now, what I was going to say is that when it comes to all the things that you need to complete an investigation, right? Again, this one has it here. Investigating rumors. Now, this is very similar to Brindlewood Bay, and I think that D&D players are going to struggle with this because a lot of D&D players, I mean, yes, there is the just roll to solve the problem, do some kind of intelligence roll to solve the problem, but when it comes to the sort of more free-form aspect, the collaborative storytelling aspect of things here, Brindlewood Bay, the way it works is you find clues, and then at the end of it all, you roll to see if you have figured out what the thing is, like if you've solved the case or whatever it is. And Brindlewood Bay is, by the way, a game where it's a very narrative improv-y game where you, very loose rules too. But you play these old ladies trying to, a la Murder, She Wrote, solve mysteries. And at the end, you make a die roll. If the roll succeeds, whatever it is you're about to guess, or whatever it is you just said and guessed, turns out to be true. If you fail, then you were wrong. And you can collect clues and stuff, and the more clues you have, the higher your chances of succeeding. It gives you, I think it's a dice pool system, if I recall correctly. I played it a few months ago. But yeah, so there's not like an objectively correct thing, right? It depends on the roll of the die. Again, a funny thing to complain about in a game where everything is decided by dice rolls. But some people want to feel like they're smart. Gaurelin. Okay, thank you. So, I don't want to ruin it for any of my players who may have sneaked in here, and are going to be playing this session later. But I've already decided what the thing is, so I'm not going to be using this specific. Oh, Oh God. Ugh. There we go. I'm not going to be using this specifically. Or these rumors. I'm going to let that come from my players and how the game goes. But let's see here. To make progress in an investigation, PC chooses which rumor they would like to run down and narrates how they want to go about it. So again, hey, I heard this rumor. I want to look into it. It's simple. Then they investigate the rumor and they make a roll for it, a duality die roll, like duality dice roll, like the main resolution mechanic of the entire game. On a success with hope, the rumor's true, they find sufficient evidence and confirm it, and the party gains an additional evidence. Place a clue token on the investigation sheet, which in this case, when they say investigation sheet, it could be an index card. It could just as easily be that you print out this wanted poster and you either mark it or you put tokens down. I have these little dry erase tokens that came in a pack of this fantastic tool. FYI, I'm so analog. I have all this digital stuff on my screen, and I do refer to it. But when it comes to like marking HP and stuff like that, I write the name, I write the HP and the stress, and in this little bottom corner, I'll write like the plus to attack. And with this little Y on the top is the difficulty, and then I have thresholds here and here. It's all I need on the fly, and if I really need to look at a stat block and read into it, like, I can. But most of the time at a glance, that's all I need. So, the fun thing about Pistolheart is, in the example of play, it says GM and the other player is Nico. I'm Nico. Aha! 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 Oh no, someone's going to screenshot that later. It doesn't matter. Anyway, on a success with hope, the rumor's true. They find enough clues to confirm it, and they get a token for the stat block or for the investigation sheet or the index card that you made of this. On a success with fear, the rumor's true. Let's see, place a clue token. Additionally, the next PC to investigate a rumor has advantage. Right, so this is all like a series of rolls, right? So if you succeed at all, the rumor's true, you get a token. If you succeed with hope, the rumor's true, and the next roll for the next rumor is going to have advantage. Otherwise, it's just a success, and there's no bonus to that. On a failure with hope, the rumor's false, but the hope aspect of it is they find out about another rumor. Like it sort of opens up a new trail. So yes, this one was a dead end, but it led them somewhere else, which means I guess it's technically not a dead end. And then on a failure with fear, the rumor is just, it's false. There's no consolation prize. But there's this other one. No, it's just gone. The cool thing is, though, again, with the collaborative storytelling aspect of this, in the failure with hope, the PC gets to choose, or the player gets to decide or describe to the GM what it is that they discovered, what the other lead is. And again, this sort of leans into the collaborative storytelling aspect of Daggerheart, which is, oh no, it was wrong and I need to come up with another rumor? No. Let your player come up with the new rumor. Because ultimately, no matter what it is you guys come up with, it's going to come down to these dice rolls, and it's all just fun. So if they come up with something, it's something that they would have fun doing, right? Again, it has to come from a place of fun. And you know your table better than I do. But anyway, let's see here. So in the example, the investigation is focused on the Emperor of Dirt's human trafficking ring. PCs have decided to investigate the rumor of prisoners enduring forced labor at the logging camp. When the PCs arrive at the camp, the GM asks how they want to go about the investigation. Nico: I want to pretend to work for the Emperor, tell the foreman I'm here for an inspection, and try to spot the prisoners while I'm talking. The GM would say, make a presence roll to investigate the rumor. And then these are the examples that I could get as a result, right? If Nico rolls a success with hope, the GM narrates how Nico talks their way into the camp and confirms the prisoner's presence. He overhears a guard talk about a mine nearby that some of his cohort were shipped off to, and a rumor is added to the investigation sheet. Prisoners moved to nearby mine. A clue token is added. Mind you, the he, let's see. The he is in reference to my character, because they have Nico talks their way into the camp. So I'm non-binary, which is important. Carlos knows my pronouns. Let's see. So the other one is success with fear, right? GM narrates how Nico talks their way into the camp and confirms the prisoner's presence. So I get the clue token, and that's all there is to it. And then, oh, and also you can, with the hope, right, it can lead to another rumor or investigation. If you don't already have something on your sheet, then the hope aspect of it, not just that they get advantage on the next roll, but if they didn't already have a rumor, that's an excellent chance to say, hey, you rolled a success with hope. Well, not only do you get a clue token, but check out this other rumor that led to, because otherwise they would have had to scout around for something else to look into. Finally, you have failures. Failure with hope. The logging camp has been cleaned out with nothing around. GM asks Nico's player what their PC finds. They say they find a half-burned note from the Emperor of Dirt with orders to move the prisoners to a nearby mine. The logging camp rumor is crossed off the card, and the PCs add a new rumor relating to the mine. Again, the consolation prize, right? Hope. And then Nico rolls a failure with fear, and that's just bum bum. I like to handle these as like montages, right? And here's the thing too. Even that description, right? We can do a whole 30-minute description of what the investigation is like, but montages allow us to sort of get a lot done in a smaller amount of time, and that's also that aspect of like what the players at your table prefer. So when it comes to investigating these rumors, does it become a whole adventure? That's the entire session, right? And each investigation is a session in and of itself. And if you run like weekly games, that's probably the move for y'all. I run monthly games, so I'm trying to put a lot more into my session than some GMs, in which case I'm probably going to run investigations and rumors as a montage where I just kind of like, it gets very descriptive. I let the players explain to me some stuff, and then we, move on from there. But that's investigations and rumors. So thrilling yet terrifying. I'm looking forward to watching it play out in game. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I've tested this out with some groups, and it's been a blast. But yes, so the Mine Baron, Tier 1. Frontier Marshals have had a pickle of a time untangling the mess surrounding Elias Plim XIV, a corrupt businessman who's gone about exploiting the locals of the lands around Sandia Mesa. Just so you know, Sandia means watermelon in Spanish. And there's also a bunch of places in New Mexico named Sandia this and Sandia that, which is interesting because I don't actually know if they grow a lot of watermelons in New Mexico. But anyway, the marshals have asked the party to go in and investigate, and it won't be as simple as putting a bullet in Plim's head, as his heir is just waiting to take his place. So again, they have a couple of examples. And this is the part where I say, once again, I'm going to move on because I have what I need. That's Act 1. It's going to be an investigation, right? It's going to start off with, you always want a strong introduction, and Sly Flourishes, the lazy Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, also has something in there. Oh, I got a question. Scott Punker 96, as soon as I finish saying this, I'm going to answer your question. Yeah, so you always want to start with a strong start, right? Something to really kick the PCs into gear and get them excited about the rest of the session. So the TBC, the to be continued, that I ended the last one on was like they hear this big rumbling. Now, what they don't know is it's being caused by stuff that the mogul is doing. What it is, I'm going to let the players sort of decide with that. I'm going to spitball some stuff. I'm going to sprinkle some hints. I have a few ideas off the top of my head. Like, there's a million things that I could come up with right here, right now on the stream, but I'm not going to do that because it's more fun for me to do that in the moment. And again, well, what if it's not great? It just has to be. It just has to exist. Your players will get excited about it and start, especially, in fact, the less you give your players, the more their brain starts trying to fill the space between and elaborate on it and draw lines and connect dots and stuff. Ska Punker, how do you handle players getting creative with abilities? I know the game encourages it, but some abilities feel more hard-coded. I don't want creative uses to be exploited or overshadow their abilities. Also, I got a good morning from Australia. Is that Matt? Is that like Heart of Daggers Matt? Or just like a random like other Australian Matt. But to answer your question about creative abilities, okay, so I think that we have to remember that as the game master, this is where the master part comes into play. Your players, I would say, encourage them to get creative with their abilities. Wait for them to cross the line first, right? I know that a lot of people want these sort of like hard calls made ahead of time so they can know in advance what is okay or not okay for them to allow their players to do. But you have to like look at it situationally, right? If you are in a situation where they're trying to get creative with the abilities, and you're like, that's actually a really cool way to do it, and you think that as a story this makes a more interesting story, and you also have to sort of let go of the ego, right? This isn't them trying to beat your puzzles or something. This is you and them telling a story, and the more excited they get about the story, or the more fun they get about the story, the better of a session they'll have. Now, if they get so creative about how they're solving the problem that it just sort of like kind of negates stuff and puts it into easy mode without a challenge, like they might not have fun. And there are plenty of times where I've said, the quote starts here, okay, that's not how that ability's supposed to work, but that's cool as shit, so I'm gonna give that one to you. And guess what? I'm the game master. That's what I'm entitled to doing, telling them that this thing that's outside of the box and isn't a hard-coded way that their ability is supposed to work, me telling them that's okay, that's my prerogative. That's what I have the agency to do. Now, I have had some players like get real over the top with it, where like they're not just getting creative, they're like even whether it's rules as written or rules as intended or rule of cool, I'm like, I think this really breaks stuff. And your comfort at the table matters. If you feel like your players are exploiting something so much so that it makes you feel uncomfortable, like you're like, I don't know. Guess what? You found your line. And it's okay to say no sometimes. I also think that those moments where you say, that's not how that's supposed to work, but that's cool as hell, I'm going to give it to you. Knowing that there are times that you are going to say yes is also what makes it so weighty when you finally say no. I give my players a lot of slack and leeway and stuff. So when I finally do say, I don't think so, they respect that. And it's also because of the fact that by virtue of being the game master, they know you're having to deal with a lot of stuff, right? And so if you tell a player no and they get kind of shitty about it, right, that's already, the problem isn't you. The problem is like entitlement, or the problem is they've never GM'd, so they don't understand what it is they're about to fuck up or something. So feel comfortable in saying yes and no to different creative things like that, so that you can have moments where you do allow that and you feel good about allowing that. And you can reserve your no's and your boundaries for the times where you're like, nah, that's not going to work for me, fam. Or I don't think so. Or, sometimes you leave it up to the dice, right? But I can't give you a blanket answer because it's so situational. Let's see. Personally, I always lean the direction of aiming to say yes, but, or yes, and, right, rather than being restrictive. And that's where I say the thing about like, maybe have them roll the dice or something. Have them make a roll. Oh, there it is. Have them make a roll or increase difficulty if it seems appropriate. But otherwise, try to let them use those abilities as extensively and creative as possible. Just my 2 copper pieces. Right. So I think that's the other thing too, right? A lot of people, when it comes to something being hard-coded or not, they get really obsessed with the coding. And you have to be, right? Like D&D, Pathfinder, those games will traumatize you into not wanting to break from that because of how much it'll screw up if you ignore it. Daggerheart went out of its way to design itself so that doing that won't mess up the entire world and the game and everything. That leeway where you're like, I don't know if I'm like giving them an inch or a mile or whatever, right? that's not meant to be like this abyss and of lack of control. That's meant to be leeway for the GM to make decisions about whether or not, in this situation that totally works. In that situation, it doesn't. You can change difficulties sometimes. You can do a bunch of different stuff. If it's all hard-coded for you, like, you just can't. You're stuck, right? You're just fucked. You have to obey what the game tells you to do. Daggerheart gives you a lot less of what it tells you to do so that you're not chained down and all of your decisions are predetermined for you, even when you think that the mechanics, like, don't make any sense or something. Let's see. I like that. Wait until they cross the line. I guess I can always preface this by saying this will work this time, but probably not something you can do. I have 100% said that. I have 100% said, like, normally no, but right now yes. Or given a reason, like, narratively with flavor, why it makes sense that it works this time, but why it normally wouldn't. Again, narrative justification, right? Storytelling, blah, blah, blah. Okay, more stuff to prep. So I'm probably going to have a lot of it be about the investigations, but I am going to do a Colossus. Maybe they complete the investigations by the end of the game, or the end of the session, before that happens. In which case... What? Is that my glasses? Oh my god, that's just my cheekbone. Wow, definition, baby. I'm not even wearing bronzer. Okay, anyway, I'm getting distracted. So, another thing that a lot of people will get really hung up about is maps, tokens, miniatures, stuff like that. And I gotta be honest, I find myself proven right every time I do this, but there are some things, especially when it comes to like distances and stuff in Daggerheart, where I would rather have the freedom as a GM to tell my players something works, even when it might not, like maybe it's not supposed to. I understand that players get really hung up on it, but that's because they're used to being chastised for like going beyond what's allowed and getting in trouble. And that's like a trust building thing, by the way, right? A lot of players want to see on like Owlbear Rodeo exactly what the ranges are. They're comfortable because they know that if they obey those ranges, they're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to screw things up. They're not going to have a cool plan in mind that just can't work. The trust exercise with a game like Daggerheart and any more narratively focused game than D&D or whatever is you have to, in the same way they've been conditioned to think that way, develop that trust between the player and the GM, where more often than not, when they try to do something cool, it's not, oh, they're just outside of the range. And the moment they see that it's just outside the range too, even if I decide to negate it, they know that I'm like cheating it for them. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, right, if we're watching a cool movie, how many times have you seen something in a movie where you're like, that wouldn't actually work like that? Or when they jump down from the top of the building, like their bones should have been crushed. Sure, let's like let that happen, like in Batman The Dark Knight, right? When he falls from the building and stuff and hits the top of the car after he, the Heath Ledger Joker scene where he's like, you want to know, I got these scars, right? In real life, yeah, dude, his bones would be shattered. He'd be splat. But you know what? That's a shitty-ass story. That's a terrible end of the movie. So I want to let the cooler thing happen. That's why if we acknowledge the reality and the specificity of like things like, for example, the ranges, it takes away that element of storytelling in a way that drives me nuts. Again, I know that I have some players that are like, oh, thank God I can see the ranges. But also, as soon as those ranges appear, it's, okay, I can place it here and then I can kind of get both of them in. I would so much prefer my players just saying, can I just like drop a fireball here and hit all these guys? I'm going to say yeah, because it's so much less fun to go like, that one's slightly outside of the circle, so you're not going to hit that one. It's just, it's just outside of the giant explosion from your magical ball of fire. But that's just me. Let's see. Players are conditioned by other games that they must ask the GM permission to even attempt anything. Sure. This game requires a retooling of that mindset. It has challenges. Yeah, and, you know, I'm not even saying that these things are easy or you know, don't require an adjustment period, right? Like, they required an adjustment period for me, especially seeing how much stuff was or was not load-bearing mechanics. But anyway, so a lot of people are going to get really obsessed with maps and tokens and minis. Here's the thing, though. A fight with a Colossus is very different than a regular fight. And I think that a lot of people can learn how to run encounters way better if they run a Colossus encounter. Now, I just want everyone to know, if you hear something sliding around on my desk, this is my fear tracker. It's a bunch of skulls. Boop, 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 boop. I've only got one fear for this session, though. And I'm going to put that over there, here. Because once they hear that noise, they know that I've gotten a fear. Or that I'm spending a fear. Okay, so... Right, the Colossus. Let's grab a Colossus. Again, there's no difference between me... I mean, there is a difference between me making a Colossus and grabbing one from the book, but, like, again, if my players have played this game before, or this campaign frame before, they fought this Colossus, well, yeah, you know, they're sort of... They've already had this experience, and it's not a brand new episode with brand new content for them, right? But they haven't. So it hurts me in absolutely no way to just run a Colossus from the book. And Colossus of the Drylands has some really good stuff in here. And I'm going to show you how I prepare my encounters. This one's going to be super narrative. This is going to be very theater of the mind. But I still do some analog stuff with the cards, and I'm going to show you how I set my Colossus up. So right off the bat, I'm gonna need, let's see, there's usually a head, so that's 1, a torso, that's 2, front leg, back leg, back leg. So in total, I have 6 cards, and I will, I wanna show you my desk. But if I move my webcam around too much, you're gonna see that I'm in my underwear. Which means absolutely nothing but words if I say it out loud, but if I show you, then that's a problem. Just know that I have these sort of arranged like a dude. Let's see, and scrolling through here as well. By the way, the Colossus of the Drylands, it actually does have what is it? Like investigations? I forget what they're called. Mechanics, designing your own Colossus, hunts and interludes, right? The hunt, that's the fight, right? That's building up to the actual battle. The interludes is everything that happens between. But Colossus stat blocks. So here's what I love about a Colossus is every piece of the Colossus is going to be a different piece of it. Or sorry, a different stat block. So there's a stat block for the head, there's a stat block for the legs, all that stuff. And I actually think, I'm like 99% sure, maybe I have it in Owlbear Rodeo, let's see. But I was running a Colossus not too long ago, so I'm pretty sure I actually have. Oh, duh, Owlbear Rodeo, here it is. Asset Manager, Scenes. Was it in one-shots? Oh, I remember now. I had a campaign that was originally a D&D campaign, and they decided that they wanted to try, you know, to switch it up and do like one-shots, and so true to form. This one-shot, which was meant to be just like, hey, check out Pistolheart, it's fun, you know, and you guys can make some cowboys, and then you can just move on. They had so much fun playing it that they're like, I really like these characters. I think, can we play with these characters again? And before you know it, we were running a Colossus of the Drylands campaign for them. But again, I swear I had A whole map setup with a Colossus's body. Playtest, maybe? Oh, well. It don't matter. What I will do, though, let's see. So let's pick a Colossus. That's what we're going to do. I think this one is tier what? So that's tier 2. Oh, look, they even have like pictures of index cards and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm going to take the one from the book. And really quick, anyone have questions about the Colossus? Let's see. Continually reminding my players not to let the maps or other physical representations constrain their imaginations. Yeah, I actually have that issue with players sometimes, is rather than the maps and stuff inspiring creativity, that it actually locks them into thinking a certain way that makes it harder for me to run the game imaginatively or narratively. Colossus of the Drylands is such a blast of a campaign frame. All my players had a blast when we ran it last year. Yeah. The Colossi are really fun to run and design too. Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. Partially because I'm planning this and doing this like live streamed and stuff. That's why I'm avoiding that's why I'm avoiding trying to like make my own from scratch. But you'll notice here that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different stat blocks, right? So I'm going to make my little index cards here. I'm going to have the head, and let's see, the difficulty is 16, and I'll show you what this all looks like. It doesn't have any thresholds. Oh, it does, it does, it does. 11, 22, and HP 5. And no stress. Well, it does, but that's something else. Okay. Okay, actually, all their thresholds are the same. So we'll do this. Okay. I got a head with HP 5. I got a torso with HP 8. That's the other thing, too. I mean, I know that there's VTTs and stuff, but if I had a nickel for every time I was, like, trying to input shit for a VTT, and I just gave up and started writing it down on pieces of paper because it was quicker to just do that, I mean, I'd have so many nickels. The torso was difficulty 14. I wrote 16. I'll fix that in a second. Okay. Arm 1. This one's arm 2. Leg 1. Leg 2. And the arms are a difficulty of 13 with 3 HP. And I'll show you what my cards look like in a second as well. The difficulty for the torso is HP 8, difficulty 14. And this one, arm is HP 3. God damn it. Okay. HP 3. And this is HP3. And this is also 13. The leg is difficulty 13. HP also 3. Okay. Look at how quick that was. I'm already done. I've got pretty much everything I need. The head has a +2 to attack. The torso doesn't have an attack. The arms both have +2s. If they hit and I need to know how much damage they do, that's when I'll look at the stat block. And let's see here. Legs also have a +2. All right. So, here's what my stat blocks are going to look like. It's that simple. All I need to know is how much HP it has, and I can track that. The +2 to attack, and the difficulty is 16. If there's any other Yes, the thresholds apply to the whole Colossus. If there's any other information I need, I will refer to the actual stat block, which, while we're at it, let's go ahead and do that. And zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. There we go. Control-Shift-S. And we'll take this whole thing. Download. That's my spicy dice stuff. But you don't get to see my folders, do ya? Okay, let's see this PC. Looking for my Daggerheart folder, because again, we got folders and folders and folders and folders. We got Yeehaw here, adversaries, and we have Colossus. E-carry. Oh, I know where I saved this information. It's not an owlbear. I have it in PRF as well. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. BBE is not, or BBB is not what you think. Or is it? Who's to say? Okay. All right. Thresholds are on the framework. Right. Okay. So I will take that, and I'm gonna, boom, drop that in on here. And I'll go ahead and grab the artwork by making a copy of that, because then I can share the artwork with my players. Copy, paste. Okay. Open that up. I'm gonna crop that bad boy. Bam. By the way, I'm sure some people were expecting to see today's stream and watch some incredible method that is just like, you never would have thought that, you know, oh my God, you've really opened my mind to like GMing in a totally different way. But the reality is, it's like a lot of it is so much simpler than I think people make it. And it really does a lot of the times come down to people worrying about a million things, none of which have to do with how fun the session's going to be. Do you want to rename? Yup. And art. Oop. There we go. And I have a piece of art that I can show them. I'll even put it there because I think I can just copy and paste stuff straight out of this thing. Bam! Big old piece of art. Nah. Well, yeah. Okay. There. Okay. Right, and then the framework. So an entire Colossus, and I'm gonna walk you through this really quick, and then we're gonna call it on the prep so I can start meeting up with my players. But you'll see that yes, they have, you know, the segments and everything. Think of the overall framework of the Colossus, because I think that let's see, you mean that there is to be no epiphany? How disappointing. Well, sorry about it. Yes. Okay, so if you've never run a Colossus before, I know that people are already tripping balls and shitting their pants because they don't understand what an environment is, which is just cool mechanical stuff that happens outside of the adversaries. Again, super simple that people are way overthinking. But if you do get environments, then this is going to be an excellent explanation. The framework of a Colossus is basically like an environment for the Colossus. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but tits what it tits. So let's see. We have, I'm not even going to write down most of that. I'm going to write down the thresholds, which are 11 and 22. Let's see, colossal power, a carry. I don't even need to write most of that down. Hold on. Do we got stress for that? No, I don't even see stress. Where's the stress? The stress is... Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So, I'm going to put thresholds, and we have 11 and 22, and stress is going to be 6. Okay, cool. All right. Easy. So, for when I do use it, and there's like a token system as part of its abilities and stuff, and I don't need to tell you to just read the freaking mechanics, because do that. But the way I'll normally set it up is kind of like in that picture of the book that you guys saw earlier. I will put it together in its shape. So it's got like kind of a knuckle walk-in situation. So I'll put its head there. I'll put the arms below it. I'll have the threshold kind of diagonally in the middle, connecting to 2 little legs. 2 little rectangular legs. Let's see. It's hard to see through the microphone. Wait, there it is. Okay, there you go. Just a quick visual shape of... y'all saw my legs. Whatever. They're boxers. They're barely underwear. Let's see. Stress is per... No, HP is per segment. Okay, I love Daggerheart environments. Yes, Daggerheart environments are super duper fun. And then I got my framework there. Again, PureRef is open. If I need to look at specifics, it's all here. I'll move that over there. Bam. Actually, I'll move both of these over here. Well, no. I'll put them over here. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm overthinking stuff. I'm being silly. Okay, cool. So, we have our Act 1, which is going to be the investigations. And that can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour or an hour and a half, right? You got to consider like how long it takes players to sort of just dig around. I've got my second act, which is going to be the Colossus, and then the third act is going to be narrative, but it's going to be leading it. Oh, you know what? Third act's going to be leveling up, baby. I'm going to have my players level up after they fight a Colossus. If they get through a Colossus, I think a reasonable reward for fighting a giant kaiju. I guess kaiju is implied that it's giant. If my players fight a Colossus and win, girl, I'm letting them level. That's it for no other reason. And then also I'm going to let them like harvest the shards of Essentia or something like that. And then that's going to be the narrative justification for why they get their tier 2 weapons. Because I think people trip way too hard about or get obsessed about like the economy and TTRPGs and stuff like that. And I know some people have fucking spreadsheets for it, but like, we don't need all that. We don't need all that. And I can almost guarantee that this is going to take... Looking at how long it took us to come up with the Busty Spurt, which took a long time in a fun way, right? Like those kinds of moments, the 15 minutes we spent joking around about that, it's not wasted time. Like these are the memories that they're going to end the session with and tell their friends about. But let's see. Congratulations to your players for hitting level 6. But yeah, so we have our Act 2 set up with the Colossus. We have our Act 1 set up with the Flim Flam Mogul. And then Act 3 is probably going to be spent leveling the players up if they get through all this. But they might not, right? Again, a lot of times these sessions end up being like you really get through only a couple of things. There is a little bit of stuff I'm going to do involving... I use Kenku FM, by the way. But... Oh, and this is actually... this is the block I made for back to date. But let's make an carry one. And I'll put tier 1 Colossus. And I could make some... Hey, what's up, Aaron? Let's see. Move that up there. Okay, cool. And Opus. I have an Opus subscription. Golly, I really wish they sponsored me. because Describe sponsors so many of my friends. But let's see. It's got like a bird head. Ape-like creature who has the face of a bird. They are made of stone and carry an enormous mesa upon their back. Okay, cool. So let's get like some like earth or rock themed sounds. Let's see, Bones of the Earth. Okay, for sure, we're gonna use that sound. That was badass. I'm gonna add that. Earth Elemental. Yeah, we're adding that. Okay, that goes on longer than I thought. I don't even need to hear, well, let's hear Earth Punch. Okay, that's a little too ringy. Let's see. Okay, do we got like rock? Falling rock and water, rock falling. Oh yeah. We'll do, let's see, what's Seismic Hurl? Oh yeah. Are there, if that's Seismic Hurl 5, there's gotta be a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see. I don't even need to listen. First of all, I'm gonna get rid of that one, just so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Okay, and do we have maybe like a quake? Oh, there we go, earthquake. Nice, 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 nice. What does stone wall sound like? Too magical. Do we have boulder? Boulder trap, stone wall, seismic. I think we got a lot of rock stuff. Okay, well, I think that we're done with prep. I'm gonna spend 5 minutes just standing up for a second, maybe grabbing myself or getting dinner started. My players, this is an evening session. My players are aware of the weakness of the flesh and the requirement I have for sustenance. So they're okay with me eating during the session. Let's see. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, we're done. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to, you guys can comment on this, even though the stream is over. I do answer my comments. If you are in my Discord server, hop into my Discord server. Do I have my link tree thing? I should have had that up the whole dang time. Let's see. 1 second. Twitch, game capture. What is this? Chat link tree. Okay, so that's an image. So let me add this thing. Man, I should have had this up the whole time. Boom. Oh. Lock, lock, lock. Grab. Diggity dang. Well, if you didn't know, there's my link tree. Yeah. Okay, in the future, I have that now. All right, well, bye everybody. Stop streaming and stream is right. Join my Discord server. Follow me on there. All of my platforms and stuff are on there.